Good afternoon. My name is Ray Carpenter, and I'm a senior fellow with the Association of the United States Army, and it's my honor to do the introduction for this panel, the Reserve Command Sergeant Major panel for the Army National Guard and the U.S. Army Reserve. Before I do that, I want to make a quick pitch for the Association of the United States Army. This year, we've gone over a 1 million mark in terms of membership in our association, and that's really quite an accomplishment. So we want to do a little bit more, so those of you who are in this audience who are not members of AUSA, there's conveniently been placed a membership booth down on the main floor, and we'd like to have you run by there and sign up, so appreciate that if you do. This forum is a great opportunity to hear from the senior enlisted leaders of the Guard and Reserve. The Association of the United States Army is proud to be able to have both Command Sergeant Major John Raines, Command Sergeant Major United States Army National Guard, and Command Sergeant Major Andrew J. Lombardo, Command Sergeant Major United States Army Reserve, here to speak to and talk about the topic Be All You Can Be, Past, Present, Future, and the Impacts of Messaging. So over to you, Senior Master Sergeant Krause.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Army National Guard and United States Army Reserve Command Sergeant Major panel discussion. I am Senior Master Sergeant Martina Krause from the Air National Guard. Before we start and I introduce you to the panel members, we would like to extend a warm welcome to our international partners. Thank you for joining us. On the panel this afternoon, we have Command Sergeant Major John Raines, the Army National Guard Command Sergeant Major. Command Sergeant Major Andrew Lombardo, United States Army Reserve Command Sergeant Major. Ambassador Michael Busher, Army Reserve Ambassador and Executive Director of Fordham Technologies. Master Sergeant Christopher Seahigh, Army National Guard Recruiter. Specialist Luke Harrison, Best Squad Member, Mr. Javier Arona, Public Affairs Chief of Chaplain for the United States Navy, and Chief Jack Scott, SEMA Warrant Officer with 3rd Army Reserve's Career Group. And joining today to assist me in moderating the panel is Major Shamika Hill with the Army Reserve Enterprise Market Office. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. There are times where history tends to repeat itself, especially when a message resounds with the American people. Be all you can be. It's the calling of opportunity. It's a call to overcome your fears. It's a call to push you past your limits and to accomplish things you never thought you could. It's a call to be the best version of yourself. Please look at the screen for a video.
Right now, the one thing you want most is an opportunity. Be all that you can be. Oh, yeah. Keep on reaching, keep on growing, be all that you can be, 'cause we need you in the Army. Be all that you can be.
A ranger never takes the easy way out.
You're reaching deep inside you for things you've never known. Go!
That's why getting into the Rangers is tough, and the training is tough.
Be all that you can be.
So it makes me feel like I'm part of something really special.
Be all that you can be.
And I'm not the only one.
You can do it in the Army. You're reaching deep inside you. Go! The things you've never known. It's been tough, rough going, but you haven't gone alone.
We do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day.
Be all that you can be.
Hey, First Sergeant. Good morning.
You can do it in the Army.
I can't tell you how it feels when you're way out there on your own, tracking the bad guys. How it feels leading a skilled team that's the eyes and ears of the whole outfit. When all your training is coming alive. But finding those tanks and telling the air cavalry right where to hit them, I can tell you exactly how that feels.
To most people, this is just a uniform. But to me, it's something more. Every time I put it on, it makes me feel better and stronger than I was yesterday. When I'm in this uniform, I know no limits. You gotta see the pride in my mom's eyes. Or the way my friends look up to me. But none of that matches the satisfaction I feel inside. That's the pride of being a soldier in the U.S. Army.
Interested in wearing this uniform? Then now's the best time to call this toll-free number, because we've got new incentives that make joining more rewarding than ever. Now you can earn up to $50,000 for college, or if you have college loans, we'll help you pay back up to $65,000. And with either, you may also qualify for an enlistment bonus of up to $20,000. Ready to wear this uniform? Call now or log on to GoArmy.com for more information. Find out how the Army can
Bring out the best
of what's inside you.
You.
be all you can be.
Designate tank! Gun disable tank! Oh!
Tank identified! Range, to the left!
Fire to Justin!
On the way!
Target C fired! Hey! Nice shot. That's what I'm talking about.
Today, we recognize the soldiers before you for the successful completion of their basic training. This time, we would like the family members and loved ones to move forward and put on your soldiers' Army 1-Star badge.
Well, I am certainly having regrets not joining the Army after watching that. Thank you, Command Sergeant Majors. In March 2023, the United States Army introduced a brand new campaign that redefines what it means to be all you can be. The Army was once enriched with Be All You Can Be for over 2 decades. The motto rang throughout American households from 1980 to 2001, informing men and women that they can be what they want. They just need to choose to do something greater than themselves, to be something that others depend on. In 2001, the campaign message that ran on televisions and radios across the country came to an end. The Army began to focus on a message that provided hope for what's to come for the nation and the people. Since then, campaign message after campaign message changed repeatedly and lost its connection with generation after generation.
Yes, I agree. Bringing back All You Can Be spotlights the limitless possibilities that the Army provides. It gives the youth a chance to fulfill their purpose, explore their passions, build community, and become the best versions of themselves. So does it ring true? A promised phrase that inspired our panel members to serve, and for others that have heard the campaign for the very first time this year. We are going to dive in and explore what it means to be all you can be, past, present, and see if it will still hold for the future. I would now like to take this time and turn it over to Command Sergeant Major John Raines, the Army National Guard Command Sergeant Major, for his opening remarks.
Hey, good afternoon. Hey, y'all can interact. So good afternoon. So hey, especially if you're in the Guard, so reserves, y'all can kind of keep it down a little bit. So hey, it's a pleasure to be up here in front of you, and thank you for all coming to this panel. And sitting out here looking at all you, obviously you figured out the be all you can be part, and I don't know what generation you grew up in. I don't know what you were watching on TV. We just saw a little snap back into time, and then we saw a little bit of the now. So what we need to figure out is what's the future going to look like. So, but something got all of us to raise our hand and to come in and to serve our country. And so, what's it going to take for that next generation to do the same thing? Do we got the messaging right? Is going back into the past and grabbing something that we used then the right answer? That's something that's hard to figure out. For me, yeah, does it ring true? It rings true to me because what era did I grow up in? Those commercials we saw at the beginning, those were the commercials that I grew up watching. So obviously they worked on me, right? Here I am. So and I've been here 34 years now. With that, I want to talk about some other young soldiers that are being all they can be. And some of them are here on the panel with me. So two down is our Army National Guard Recruiter of the Year. Well, he wouldn't be sitting on the panel if he wasn't being all he could be, and he wasn't talking some other people into being all they could be. So Master Sergeant Seehee, thank you for what you do. I look forward to hearing what you got to say on the panel. Before I go on, I'm just going to clap. So for his accomplishments. So thank you. And then if you look a little further down and you see the youngest looking member on the panel, no. One over from the gentleman that raised his hand. So is Specialist Luke Harrison. So he is our Army National Guard Soldier of the Year. So he competed in the best squad. So we put him through that grueling ordeal that we call the best squad competition, and he's still awake. He's not falling asleep on us yet, and he's going to talk about what that means to him. But I will tell everybody that my year goes from AUSA, really Army 10 miler, to AUSA Army 10 miler. That's where I start collecting stories. And that's one of my jobs as Sergeant Major of the Army National Guard, is to tell the Guard story. So in telling that story, I collect stories as I go out the year, stories of success. Not to say that we don't fail, but I like to talk about the successes. So I got a few here that I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to throw this sheet of paper away, and I'm going to start on my next year's total as soon as AUSA is over with, and we have guardsmen going out there winning. Competing and winning, and not just in the competitive space like best squad, but winning when it comes to what we ask them to do as American fighting forces, whether it be OIR, whether it be in Europe, whether it be in Kuwait, whatever it is. But here's my list I'm going to go over real quick. The Army's Best Scout section, we call it the Gainey Cup. I got a little snapshot here. The 2023 Gainey Cup was fierce, with 22 U.S. and international cavalry scout squads competing. But when the dust settled, a team from the Illinois Army National Guard from the 2nd Squadron 106 Cavalry Regiment was proven to be the best of the best in the U.S. Army. That was Staff Sergeant Michael Gamble, Specialist Evan Quinn, Specialist Connor Mahoney, Specialist William Pitney, and PSC Jacob Benham. 2023 Best Sniper Competition, another snippet. It's official. Soldiers from the Army National Guard are the best snipers in the world. The best sniper competition had teams from the 75th Ranger Regiment, SOCOM, United States Marine Corps, Air Special Operations, to name a few, and then 9 countries were represented with teams. The overall winner was a team from the Army National Guard. In fact, we took 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 8th place in the International Sniper Competition. 2023 CENTCOM Service Member of the Year, Sergeant Angelo Canaveri, who was also the Forces Com Runner-Up NCO of the Year. We had 2 teams representing the Army National Guard this year in the Best Squad competition. We just came from the Sergeant Major of the Army's luncheon, and we got to see the Forces Command Best Squad, and we got to see the Army National Guard, all Army National Guard Best Squad. And they gave it their all. They competed. Ultimately, they did not come out on top. But as I told them earlier, it wasn't for a lack of effort. It wasn't for a lack of competency and knowledge. Man, they gave it their all. They won several events, and I could go on and tell you the things that they won, and we're proud of them, just like we are the rest of these accomplishments that are on here. 2023 Best Ranger, 2 Army National Guard teams made it to the last day and finished 8th and 13th. Ohio Army National Guard placed in 3 weight classes at the Lacerda Cup. That's the Army's annual combatives competition. To my knowledge, this soldier member is almost got ahead of myself. We also had a Ranger School graduate that went right from basic training to being named the enlisted honor graduate for Ranger School from Puerto Rico. Now he's a specialist. You can imagine he's moving up pretty fast through the ranks, you know, if he goes over there being a private and graduates enlisted honor graduate Ranger School. And to my knowledge, that is the first soldier member that we've had to go right from AUSA to be the enlisted honor graduate at Ranger School. And that's just a couple of the accomplishments. So what I want to figure out on this panel is how do we keep challenging, soldiers to be all they can be. Obviously, we've done it, and the leadership that owns these soldiers have done it, and they've challenged those soldiers somewhere along the way. And they are being all they can be and the best versions of themselves. So that's just on the individual front. So now I want to talk a little bit about the team front, but before I do, I want to cue the video. All right. Always ready, always there. I could drop the mic now after that video, right? So, and I could just leave the room. But hey, that's the ultimate team that we talk about. We talk about how we fight as a joint force. So you saw a little bit of jointness in that deal. You see a little bit of jointness with Senior Krause being up here, being the presenter. That's the ultimate team. Is how do we get to where we need to be to protect the homeland and to represent American interest abroad. So that is our ultimate question. How do we do that? And our most integral part to that is none of that machinery you saw on that. It's our people. So how do we fill our ranks? How do we bring people in? And that's what this panel is about, is getting after that question. You know, be all you can be. Is that the right approach? You know, it worked with me. Will it continue to work? And where do we need to go in the future? So thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Major Raines. Thank you, Sergeant Major. Now to hear from Command Sergeant Major Andrew Lombardo, the Army Reserve Command Sergeant Major.
Hey, good afternoon, and thank you for attending. Be all you can be. Unlimited possibilities. Best you. Team. Family pride. All Americans. One of the unique aspects the Army Reserve, just without counterpart, I think, that the Army National Guard, is that you don't really have to choose between military service and a civilian career. You can do both. People choose to serve in the Army Reserve in two different ways, both representing the Army motto, twice the citizen. One group of people choose to perform the same skills, both in the military and the civilian jobs. Some people gain these skills or obtain these skills by joining the military, and some gain them by pursuing a civilian career and do the same thing in the military transfer. They deepen their skills. What's great about service in the Reserve and the Guard is that members continue to learn and practice leadership skills, competencies, and attributes that directly transfer to their civilian job. We share talent with America's employers. Our soldiers are all they can be. The other group chooses to pursue something completely different than what they do in their civilian career. And that's a great opportunity for someone that doesn't want to be limited to just one pursuit. With the revitalization of the Be All You Can Be campaign for the Army Reserve, it means that our people don't have to be limited by one choice or by a choice to serve or not to serve. In the Reserve and the Guard, you can do both. You can, in fact, be all you can be. As many know, all services, including the Army Reserve component, have had challenges with meeting our end strength. One way that we can address this is by informing the public who we are. We do this through marketing and branding. In March of 2023, the Be All You Can Be campaign was reintroduced, and during the same month, for the first time, the U.S. Army Reserve came out with distinctive branding nested within the Army branding, unboxed to express unlimited possibilities. The branding distinguishes us from our three components and establishes pride in all three components. I look forward to today's discussion and how to message the Be All You Can Be campaign. Thank you.
As we dive into this subject, I would like each panel member to introduce themselves and also answer how has the reinvention of this campaign message provided clarity to what it means to be all you can be. As we begin this discussion of the why, if any audience members would like to come forward, there's a microphone on either side. Please feel to come forward. If you're not comfortable coming forward, we do have index cards. So Sergeant Major Walker, she's in the back. You can provide her your question and she will read it for you. First question, Command Sergeant Major Lombardo.
Right back to me.
As a service member that joined during the initial campaign of Be All You Can Be, to what extent did the campaign influence you to make that decision to join?
Sure. Thanks for the question. So, for those of you that don't know, I joined during the height of the campaign in 1985, and I joined the regular Army. And my decision to join and serve in the military was not necessarily based upon a campaign. It was based upon the fact that I'm a first-generation American, and I want to give back to this nation. Now, where the marketing campaign of Be All You Can Be came into play is deciding which service I wanted to serve in. And from where I came from in the Northeast, the Army was not the service of choice. But the Be All You Can Be campaign let me see it in a different way. It showed me about the opportunities, and at the time, they were combining this concept of opportunities, unlimited opportunities, with some transactional opportunities, like a 2-year enlistment, which was new at the time. That is kind of what convinced me to give it a shot so I can get some maturity and earn some money towards my college degree. And that's kind of what tilted me towards the Army, and I've never looked back. I got hooked. I never looked back since.
Thank you, Command Sergeant Major.
Mr. Arona, would you like to introduce yourself? Go down the panel.
My name is Mr. Javier Arona. I'm Public Affairs for the Chief of Chaplains of the Navy. Excuse me. I'm Specialist Luke Harrison, National Guard Soldier for the ACU. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Busher. I'm the Army Reserve Ambassador to the state of Virginia.
Good afternoon. My Sergeant C.I., Utah Army National Guard, pretty retention. Senior Prouse, we do have conditional releases if you want to be all you can be.
It will take a few days. I'll think about it.
Hello, everyone. Chief Jack Scott, SEMA Warrant Officer, and I can't end there, though. I'm on a special mission. I actually have a dual mission set. I'm in the Army Reserves. I've done active duty National Guard, Army Reserves, by far the best. My story, though. And I serve both the OCAR mission, but also 3rd Battalion ARCG by doing a special project of leveraging my social media platform to help recruit new individuals into the Army Reserve. And I am focused on, obviously, warrant officers, but cyber as a whole. So anybody interested, let me know. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Sergeant Major Raines, during the 20-year initial campaign message from 1980 to 2001, how prevalent was this message heard in homes, offices, and schools?
You know, I really, probably like a lot of people in the room, I didn't really think about the campaign, until it was gone, and then it was re-implemented. And then I started, the jingle. You hear the jingle. I can't tell you I remember a whole lot of the videos coming on TV, but I remember the Be All You Can Be jingle, And then as you were playing them just then, there were a couple of more things, like we do more before 9 o'clock than most people do, all day. Those kind of things, so those things are embedded in us, and it's the things that we see, the things that we hear all the time that come. But I'm going to say that on a normal Saturday, which is when I would have been watching TV, I wouldn't have watched a lot of TV during the week. I'd have been out doing things. But on Saturday, I would say we were inundated with those commercials, and I would say that we probably heard those things, 10, 15 times a day. Even if we were running around the house doing things, it was still hitting in our head, and it's still something that was there. So, you don't remember it until you hear the jingle, and then you hear the jingle, and then it comes back to you, and you remember that.
Chief Scott, in the current environment in America, how do you believe there is a misunderstanding of who the Army is and what we stand for?
Thank you for this question. So, give me a second on that. Which direction I want to take this? I think one thing that I've noticed, because I'm full-time civilian, I'm your typical, regular, what we used to call in the National Guard, in-day soldier, so about 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. And what I've identified and found through my social media platform, the communities that I've grown, people don't understand the military, especially within the Army. They don't understand really what we do. They don't understand our mission. The only thing they've seen is 20 years of war. They've seen the withdrawal. They see how ineffective our withdrawal was. So in my opinion, what I've noticed is in a lot of ways, we have highlighted some of the negative aspects of the military. So one of the things that I believe bringing back this slogan will help to do is start to really refine what is the Army, because Army of One, it's not really clear. And then the one before Army of One was, what was our one right before that? After that, Army of One?
Army Strong.
Thank you.
What's your warrior?
Yes, Army Strong, but that had so much ambiguity. So in my opinion, coming and bringing back Be All You Can Be, in my opinion, it really tells more of a story. And I think there's multiple pillars within Being All You Can Be that I think when we communicate that as a message to the overall populace, like Sergeant Major was saying, really leveraging marketing, we can show that we're more than just one force. We are here to serve you, just like the video showed. We are here to serve. It's not just about education, but it's also securing our borders.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question for Mr. Orona. How does the National Guard and Army Reserve set themselves apart from the regular Army when it comes to this messaging?
It's a good question. So I think what sets them both apart from the regular Army is that they do a great job in highlighting the human aspect of a soldier who is serving both outside of the military and inside. As you can see from the videos, the Army Reserve had a lot of family interaction. At the end of all of the videos for the Be All You Can Be, they showed them telling them how proud they were of them, not only showing the effectiveness of them at their job and what they're doing, but that they can go home and connect with their families and place importance upon things like that. The National Guard's mission is different, not to say that they're not focused on their families. We're saying that they are more geared towards, in their videos, showing the effectiveness of them as a tactical military force. The Army Reserve is geared more towards a support force. So there are different missions, but at the end of the day, they both do want to go home, connect with their families, and show the world that. I think Be All You Can Be, one of the most important things about it is that it is connecting the generations. It's showing those who in the past served under that. They have their family members now that are looking back and saying, hey, you know what, my grandfather served under that. Now this is something that I can relate to him with.
Master Sergeant Seahigh, I appreciate the offer with a conditional release, but I don't think I'm Army strong, although SEA Whitehead and I did do the Army 10-miler with our Army counterparts, Command Sergeant Major Raines, yesterday, so we were pretty excited we finished that. So my question is to you, how does bringing back Be All You Can Be help with the Army's identity?
I think back, and thanks for the question. I think back to the first time that I heard that. It was in the Army Now with Pauly Shore. Anybody ever see that movie? And for me, it kind of showed me that I can do hard things. So Be All You Can Be is just be the best version of yourself to me.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. You know, as I'm walking down the streets in uniform in the city I live in, someone yelled out, "Hey, look, it's Be All You Can Be." So that goes into the next part of this discussion.
Can
with
I
the
add
impact.
something to that really quick?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. I wanted just to add on to what you were saying, because I think that not only like what it does for the force, I think when you're talking about and you're saying, when I joined, by the way, it was 2004, so it was in the tail end of this. So all I remembered was Be All You Could Be. Because it takes a couple of years when you bring in a new slogan to start integrating that. So that's when I joined. I wanted to be all I could be. And I will tell you, seeing individuals and hearing Be All You Can Be, and we started shifting to Army of One, it didn't really connect and actually, from my opinion, really connect with a lot of the soldiers. But when you're in a unit and your mentality is to be all you can be, the waters rise and all the ships rise together. And I believe when we start doing that again as a community, each person is going to want to be together, and ultimately, even though it's an individual determination to be all you can be, it'll affect the overall mission and strengthen us as a whole. Thank you.
No problem, thank you. The Army has received positive feedback from the rollout of the campaign of Be All You Can Be from youths, parents, and influencers. How we communicate, whether it be through commercials, social media, streaming networks, speaking engagements, messaging is important. The funnel the screen speaks about is on a prospective prospect journey. It starts with generating the attentive awareness, and it ends with the signed contract of a recruit. We are also addressing different brain gaps that we have noticed doing research with the knowledge, trust, relatability, and culture. Now, as we turn the discussion over to how messaging has an impact on our formations, with those with the propensity to join and others who have influence on those who may want to join. And once again, for anyone who would like to ask questions, feel free to come up to the mics or write it out on the index card and we will get right to you. This first question is for Ambassador Bouchard. You have seen Army campaigns change over time. Have you seen public perceptions of the Army, Army Reserve, or National Guard change over the years with their new slogans and campaign rollout?
I appreciate the question. Thank you. So, to put it in perspective, I joined about 2 years after the Sergeant Major there, 1987. Very different times.
Call me old.
I didn't say that, Sergeant Major. So, I joined height of the Reagan era, and I wanted to be all you could be. I knew I wanted to be a soldier. Spent 30 years in, and a mix of active duty, Army Reserve time. I enjoyed it. And, and as we were looking at these messaging, and people were asking, what does that mean to you? And what is be all you could be? So I look at my career, and I look back and all the opportunities I had. And you talk about the different opportunities and, being able to be a civilian, go out and do your job, and I look at what I did. And as a civilian, on the civilian side, I was on the intelligence side. I served in the Central Intelligence Agency. And on the reserve side, I was a J2X down at Special Operations Command. So when I got deployed, I wore two hats. So very different times. When I went on active duty, that was very interesting as well. So, I got to see all kinds of amazing things. I got to do amazing things. I had an amazing career. And then on the civilian side, after I was done with my active duty period, I got to do incredible things. I took that experience and rolled it into my civilian career. I opened companies. I grew these companies, sold them off, and now I'm getting ready to open up my third company. And, you talk about be all you can be. And the Army let me do that. The Army gave me these skills. We talk about that. Oh, the Army will give you these skills and abilities, and you're going to be a better person. The Army gave that to me. In 6 years of enlisted experience and 24 years as a commissioned officer, we talk about that, and we look around, and, we're surrounded by people just like us, and we take it for granted. But these leadership skills that we have, we're just like each other. We're all like-minded, and we take it for granted because we're all A-types, and we all go through the same schools, and we all have similar experiences. But when we look around, we take these experiences out in the civilian world, you realize, they're not all like us. We have a little bit better drive for the most part. We're a little bit quicker about things, and we have that drive inside of us. And so when we look at these slogans and we say, they're changing, and be all you can be, what does that mean to you? Well, it means a lot, because it gives us a difference and a drive and a tenacity to do just that, to take it out in the communities. We take it into the communities, we make them better. We take it into our workforce, we make it better. We take it into our families, and we make them better. So these slogans aren't just a slogan. It's a lifestyle. It's what we do. It's who we are. That's what it meant to me. Thank you.
Does anyone have any follow-up?
On that one, no.
Specialist Harrison, prior to today, did you actually see any of those campaigns?
To answer your question, no. I'm a pretty blue-collar guy. I work a lot. I'm not on my phone a lot.
I was actually talking because of your age, but that was a good answer. But here's my extra question. Yeah. As you watch the videos, All You Can Be, did one stand out to you over the other? There was a lot of videos, so you can take a moment to think about it.
That's a great question. I'd say right off the bat, the first one that really engaged me was like the Ranger one from, I think that might have been early 2000s, maybe the 90s. because I think every person joining the military, they want something of that. Like initially in that recruiting process, is kind of what attracts you, right? It's like, you're going to go do the infantry stuff. Everyone thinks infantry initially, so that one really grabbed my attention. I would say that the National Guard one also at the end, the modern one, really grabbed my attention as well. It's a very well put together piece of cinematography, I guess. It's very engaging. So yeah, and to follow, obviously I'm much further back in my journey. The youngest person on this panel, by far. Yeah, I think that's probably why, I'm guessing that's why I'm here, right? Like a younger perspective on it. But I'd say there is some truth to that. Be all you can be. This is an incredible opportunity for me to be here around so many senior leaders. So I appreciate that.
That was a good follow-up. Thank you for your answer.
Good recovery.
I think you said the National Guard video because you're, no bias.
I'm definitely biased.
This question is for Master Sergeant C. High. If you think about the past repeating itself, do you think it can have a greater impact today and for the future?
I think we have to learn from our mistakes and also learn from the things that we do right. I mean, as a recruiter, I get told no, like so far once today. Every day, you got to ask someone to join or tell the Guard story, tell your story. So I think all of us can learn from those things, and I really like that we're bringing it back.
I think what struck me with the rebrand and some of the new videos that they reached out is what your audience is. And it's not just the individual you're trying to show or highlight what the Army has to offer them, but that first patch video struck me, and the pride, the parental pride of being able to walk up to your soldier and put that first patch on when they graduate basic training. I think when you look at, you have to consider who your audience is when we market to them, and the means in which we market.
True. Can I add to that really quick? I want to add to what you were just saying. I think it's also important, like speaking on the generation that we're looking at, Gen Zs, if you all don't know, like they're wanting to be part of a community, especially more so ever before. And they want to be all they can be. They want to achieve more. And because I work with a ton of Gen Zs, most of the kids I work with are 22, 23 years old, and the thought of going into the military, they're like, no way, I would never join the military. I'm actually curious of talking to them about this new slogan, what they would say, but I can tell you one of the most important things they want in their life to thrive is to feel as part of a community and that they can achieve something great. Thanks.
Thank you. So this is a good follow-up for Command Sergeant Major Rains. As the Army National Guard Command Sergeant Major, when you speak to your formations, what is the most common theme you hear regarding the viewpoint for both recruiting and retention?
I will tell you, as I go around the country, and I get the positives and the negatives when it comes to talking about accessions and when it comes to talking about retention. But there's a common theme, and the common theme out there is that, hey, soldiers want to do their job. They want to be engaged. They want to have engaged leadership, and they want to be doing what they signed their right hand and what they signed on the dotted line to do. They don't consider, hey, we all know the floor needs to be mopped and we all know the grass needs to be cut. But if that's all you're doing in your formation, that's having an effect on your formation. So they, 100% as I go around, that is the common theme that, hey, if I'm going out and I'm seeing them doing an engaging task, they're on fire. They're talking about, hey, what we just did on this objective. They're talking. If I'm going out and seeing them in a state mission role where they've had some kind of disaster that has happened, a storm, a wildfire, something like that, they're on fire at that time, because they're giving back to their communities. And that's what they joined up to do. That's what they want to do. And that's really what I see. And then also, I think the carryover to that is we forget about the effect of those that are currently serving have on those that are going to assess into our formations at a later date. So they are still not that far removed to where they don't have relationships with people that are in our recruiting age and our recruiting demographic. So they're having those communications all the time with them. So if they're out there doing their job and we are actually engaging them on what their wartime mission is and on what their domestic role role is they're going back home and they're telling people what they did for the weekend. They're going back telling them what they did on this deployment, or what they did for this, mobilization they did stateside, and that's having a positive effect. So that's more. Even if I hear on the negative side, it's the negative against that. Hey, we didn't do that. Hey, we sat around and we held the walls up. So from both sides of negative and positive, soldiers want to do soldierly things. They want to work together as a cohesive team. They want to work together in their teams. And I tell my first sergeants, my sergeant majors all the time, when you're thinking about details, nothing wrong with details. We got to do work, right? Work's got to be done. But when you do it, assign it out in those teams. Don't take an individual out of their team and send them over here to do this. Take a team and let them go do that. So therefore, they can manage that just like they're doing any other mission, and it carries over into their feeling. Because ultimately, what we're talking about is what do people feel, what do they think about.
Thank you, Command Sergeant Major Rains.
Hi, excuse me, Sergeant Hendricks. I have a question for CSM Lombardo, Sergeant Major, before you open it up for public questions. Last year during this forum, you promoted our best squad last year, and I was just wondering, is that an option for this year?
Right here.
Right here, Sergeant Major.
Well, first of all, I'm a non-commissioned officer, so I don't promote anybody. General Daniels, are you in here? With your permission, ma'am, I would like to, let's do it real quick.
That's awesome.
The following soldiers, please come forward. Sergeant Houseman, Specialist Horgenson, Specialist Martin Jimenez, and PFC Wentworth. Please remain seated for the publishing of the orders. Attention to order. The President of the United States has reposed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and the ability of these soldiers. In view of these qualities and their demonstrated potential for increased responsibility, they are therefore promoted to the following ranks. Sergeant Houseman from Best Squad to Staff Sergeant. Specialist Horgenson, Best Squad to Sergeant. Specialist Martin Jimenez, Best Squad to Sergeant. Effective 1 October 2023 by the authority of the Department of the Army. The following soldier is advanced from PFC to Specialist. PFC Wentworth, Best Squad. Effective 1 October 2023 by the authority of the Department of the Army.
Hey, I got to weigh in on that. We just can't let that go unnoticed. So, and hey, don't get excited, Guard. We're not promoting you. So it just highlights the difference between the Guard and the reserves, right? So we are Title 32 controlled, the majority of our soldiers. So we do have policy that allows the tags to promote each one of our best warriors to sergeant. But that will happen when they get back to their states. And when they meet the requirements, they get promoted as early as they can to sergeant. So I didn't want all my Guard sergeant majors to be upset. I don't want to be mad. So hey, go back, promote your guys. You know that policy exists. But hey, congratulations to both best squads. Outstanding job.
That's right. They did a phenomenal job.
And going right back to you, Specialist Harrison, the youngest one on the panel, the impact, what impact has the new Army marketing had on yourself and your peer group for regarding the perception of the Army?
I think overall the impact's been a positive one. There's a shift. People see it, that the Army is taking training very seriously. I'm not going to say that the media ever didn't take the training seriously in the way we presented ourselves, but I think people are picking up, hey, like, we're training seriously, we want proficient soldiers, and I think that's a positive impact overall on my peers.
Thank you.
Major Lombardo, this one's for you. How do we rebrand or influence
I get the easy one. I like that. Okay. I guess my sense is that we tie branding and marketing towards our values and not towards our outliers. We represent the entire nation and the depth, breadth, and diversity of it. I also say we don't do it alone. All right, and CSM Reigns, we're talking about what do we do when we're together, and the emphasis on training, proficiency, and we give our soldiers the experience that they signed up for. So I don't know that this is going to be answered by marketing, but it will be countered, that 24-hour cycle will be countered by our own soldiers, by providing them the training that we said we were going to do. And they'll be the best people to counter it. That's my 2 cents. Does anybody else have anything?
I'd like to add to that, yes,
Yeah.
please. I think that one of the key things that, and if you had more time, you'd probably touch on this as well, is taking ownership immediately and owning up to it. I do think to an extent, since social media is so affluent out there, that we own it and we own that messaging before the messaging owns us. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes.
I've got a question, and it's for the panel. So on the more officer John Sinclair, New Zealand. We talk about branding and that. Have we done any sort of analysis around why young people aren't joining, or do you have any thoughts on the reasons yourselves why you think young people aren't joining the army?
Yeah, people join for a variety of different reasons. Some of the big ones that I see are people want to change the course of their life. They want to do something different. They want to belong to something. Sometimes they want to get their college paid for. But every person that I talk to has a different reason. And when I sit down with them, I usually ask, hey, why is it that you're here? What is it that you're trying to get from this? And most of them, it goes along with what we're saying here, is they want to be all they can be.
Well, let's take it from the other angle. So if they're not, what's your experience in what's the perception out there from your vantage point?
Yeah, some of our, I have a 17-year-old daughter at home, and she wants to do something that doesn't require a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. Okay. We're still looking to figure that out, but each person I just address whatever their concern is and answer honestly, and sometimes the military is just not for them.
I think they have a lot more options nowadays. There's a lot of things that seem appealing to them, and they think that they can do it right away. A lot of them don't know exactly what benefits they will get from serving. They know, hey, maybe I get college, but they don't understand how the benefit works. And I think that the Army has been doing a great job of getting the message out more as far as to a deeper level, so that they're not just seeing the surface information. And I agree with that. The younger generation, they ask questions. They say why. When we were growing up, a lot of us, and I know in my era, it was you don't get to ask why, but they do, and we have to be cognizant of that. They ask why, and it's our responsibility to not only give them the information about the military and say you need to do this, but go ahead and let them express what it is that they want to do, and maybe weigh out the pros and cons, and a lot of them will see that maybe it is a path that they did want to go on, but at first they were hesitant because of fear.
Yeah, I think another aspect is we're all competing for the same population demographic. Colleges and universities, when I was growing up and I was getting out of high school, it wasn't everybody in the high school is going off to a college or a university. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, when you go and talk to that age group, everybody is going to college. So there's some problems with that, right? So when we look at that, we start looking at, hey, what's the demographic that we're going to address without being engaged in the high schools. We still want to be engaged in the high schools, but hey, we start looking at the colleges and universities as well, and we start putting recruiters over top of that, because most people that start college, they don't go straight through. They don't graduate in their 4 years. So we found success in that. But I think also one of the aspects that we look at from a reserve component standpoint is we can counter a lot of the negatives, because where do our soldiers, our young soldiers, go once they graduate basic training, once they graduate their advanced individual training? They go back home, right? And then they go to a college or a university. So they can offset a lot of those negatives by saying, hey, that they're hearing in the media, which is one of the things, we've been beat up in the media. So they can help counter that if we're making their experience a positive experience. If we're making their experience a negative experience, then it's going to have the counter effect on us. And I think you have seen, everybody knows we just come through COVID. And we know that we had to change our recruiting strategies. We had to change, our touch points with people. And we're just now seeing that round and for it to get better. If you look at the Army National Guard this year, when it comes to end strength, we ended this year at 99, above 99% end strength. So 325,000 is what we got. We ended up 324,900 and some odd soldiers. So a way better year than the COVID years. So we're starting to get that those touch points again and get our recruiters out there. And also our recruiters are not just our people that wear 79 Tango or 79 whatever. There are soldiers that we put back out into employment roles. We put them in schools. We put them in colleges, universities. I think that's, we've heard a lot of this stuff, and we had to change the way we do things. And we've changed that narrative, and we think we've turned a corner. Now, we'll see. You can't ever relax in the recruiting space, because that's our lifeblood, is recruiting. Those are the ones that are going to fill our ranks, and it takes people. We keep talking about people being the central point of what we do.
So we also distinguish in the Total Army a shrinking propensity to serve versus ineligibility to serve. So we've been addressing that, the Total Army, through a Future Soldiers preparatory course. And what that does is for, what are the factors that might, somebody wanting to serve but is not eligible. Maybe it's obesity, maybe it's some level of behavioral health or drug use or test scores. So what the Future Soldier program does is it allows eligible soldiers an opportunity to work on, work on obesity and or increasing test scores to get eligibility out of those that have a propensity to serve, to be able to increase our rates. And we do that through a program down at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Regular Army runs it, but it's eligible for all three components. And that's how we're in addition to that campaign, just ensuring that that we give the best opportunity to raise the American community up to and reach our standards.
Thank you.
Hey, can you hear me? My name is Dondre Lawson. I'm a Sergeant First Class in the Maryland Guard, and I'm also the CEO of Emerald Technical Solutions. So we talk about dual dedication leadership a lot, right, and what that actually means. Kind of similar to what you said, right? I've 17 employees, and we're working on getting to 35 employees, and I'm still a Guard troop, right? I enlisted in 2011. I got my associates, my bachelor's, my master's degrees, and all of my technical training that came out of the best branch, right, the Signal Corps, and down in Fort Gordon. And what me and my Sergeant Major ask ourselves a lot is what is the correlation between your marketing and your leadership, right? As a recruiter, especially for my recruiters, you are salespeople. The same way my BD guy comes out in the best suits and he can talk your ear off all day long, right? Because he's selling technology the same way the Army, whether it's the Army National Guard, whether it's reserves, whether it's active duty, you're essentially selling the Army. If you were in the 1230, if you're in the luncheon, right, you saw the 82nd Airborne sing some very good songs, right? In order for those people to come together, someone had to say, hey, what else are you good at? What else are you good at doing? I can sing. I can sing really well. Hey, I can sing too, right? And then they came to that point where now they were able to go out publicly to do these things. So what is everyone's story, right? And that also kind of bakes back down to the leadership in between the ranks of like, hey, I just saw a lieutenant general come up here very casually, right, and promote for soldiers, right? What do these things look like, right? So when you start talking about the actual correlation between marketing, hey, we got you through the door, our recruiters did our job, now what is the leadership doing in your ranks to provide these services, right? Recently, we were able to get on the military one-source contract. As a soldier, I'm providing cybersecurity services to other soldiers, right? So for me, that's like my story, right? That's why I'm happy about it. But the question is how do you correlate your marketing and your leadership in once people get out of basic training? Hey, I showed up at my unit. What does it look like?
So I think what you're asking is as far as sir, sorry again. Yeah, sorry. So you're asking how is it that leadership is getting together with the lower enlisted and making sure that there's a correlation of.
What I'm saying is when someone comes in, right, we've seen a bunch of people get out because that leadership isn't there, it's not direct, right? How are you guys telling and letting people know once they've gotten to the unit what you should actually do? Like, be all you can be, sure, that's fine, that's great, but someone has to lead that person to be able to be all.
Got it. So with as far as the recruiting angle goes, you guys hook them up with sponsors as soon as they go through, and they have that as soon as they get
So
through.
the Army National Guard recruiters, 3-tenant mission, recruiting, retention, attrition. So if I enlist someone today, I get to be their drill sergeant at the RSP, and then once they come back from training, depending on what unit they're in, I get to do retention to try to keep them in our ranks.
And I'll add to that on the reserve side. So even though I have a special mission, I fall within ARCG, Army Reserve Career Group. So we actually in the Army Reserve have a career group that works directly with you to help keep you in. And one of the goals is, like, we should talk and get you over to cyber to work in the Army Reserve. And then what we do is we see it as a career, and we work with you. And maybe cyber isn't your fit. Maybe you want to go back and do, 42 Alpha. That is part of that ARCG, is we work with you to help retain you, but make sure that you're happy.
And hey, that's one of my Sergeant First classes there, and that's a great story. So I told you one of my jobs as the Army Guard Sergeant Major is tell the Guard story. So I'll tell your story, and I'll add that out there. But hey, I won't let you off the hook. As a Sergeant First class, what's your role in that? Your role in that is what? Your role in that is engaged, and being engaged with those soldiers that fall under you, and you figuring out, hey, what makes them tick, what gets them going, and then making sure that we deliver on the be all you can be piece, So if they want to go be from a signal side, they want to go be a cyber professional, you provide that knowledge. You provide, hey, what does it take to get there? Maybe they need to go and they need to educate themselves some more. Maybe they need to go take some follow-on tests before they can qualify for this. But you're the signal professional that understands that. So, from a senior leader perspective, I hear my boss all the time, and I think I saw my boss in the room. He talks about being a generalist, right? So same thing at the nominative sergeant major level. We're wide. The deep part. I won't say I've never been a signal guy because I started signal, so I can't say that. But let's say it was a career field that I haven't been a part of. Obviously I'm not going to be the deep person and how to progress through that stuff. But I know somebody. I know a Sergeant First class in Maryland that can point somebody in the right direction and get them going and motivate them and provide that stuff to them. So I think that falls on our leadership, and I think it's just from a standpoint of being engaged leaders at every level and making sure that we empower our people and we let them know they have a responsibility, and that is part of the responsibility, is to grow their people and to figure out where their people's interest lies at.
Yep, he was first.
Spider-Man.
You're first. Hey, my question is for Master Sergeant Seehee, Sergeant Major Herder. I'm a Montana Guardsman, currently assigned to U.S. Army Pacific Command. So, and I did a lot of recruiting too. So, my opinion, I don't know about yours. Nobody joins the military because they saw an ad. That helps with top of mind, and that's something that we haven't done well in the past. I remember when I was recruiting in 2015 through 2017, we did no advertising at all. We stopped communicating with our Broadcasters Association, and it was a difficult thing to recover from. But when I joined the Army in 1989, you know, Gen X, no one was the generation that was in charge of the military at that time was not overly impressed with Private Herder. And our generation did a pretty good job. Gen Z is going to do a great job too. How is this campaign, though, going to help you get more leads, prospects, and applicants? Because that's like Sergeant First Class was talking about back here. That's what changes the numbers. So how do you see this helping getting leads, prospects, and applicants?
What I liked about some of those videos is it's actual soldiers doing their actual job. So with that, if we have soldiers sharing their story in their social media platform, I think that can help. But you're right, at the end of the day, like, the ad's not the only reason that a person's going to join, but it may be the reason that they work up the courage to come chat with you at that lunch display, and you as the recruiter, our soldier, service member, need to take them from there.
Hey, one follow-up on that too. So GRAP, it worked in the past. It could work again in the future if we supervise it and don't let a private for-profit company do the whole thing. I know there's some states that are kind of doing a pseudo bounty for a lead that turns into an enlistment. What's your thoughts?
I'm going to avoid the question for a second. The new thing that we got going right now is the federal recruiting ribbon. That's been helping quite a bit. If there was a way to make sure that we were responsible with GRAP, I think it'd be a great thing. I've heard some of my friends say that their state's doing a version of it, but I really like the federal recruiting ribbon because it translates to promotion points. It's been a really good thing for us.
So I thought your question was good, and I like the panelist's response too, because you know, how does it, you know, you're talking about the impact. If you take a look at the First Steps new video or Be All You Can Be campaign, I think it addresses and informs the American public about that value of courage that we have in the Army, and that you have to take that first step to be all you can be. And I think that kind of counters a narrative that's out there, and to the extent that it does, maybe it does help you, Sergeant.
Yeah, if it gets them to chat with me, it's definitely helpful. And I don't know how many people in a year I'll talk to that are going to say, I joined because I watched this video or that video, but I really do think if you watch any of those videos, you know, we do more before 9 than most people do in a day, or things like that. It kind of motivates you a little bit, and then you're like, maybe I should take a look at this. So you see the billboards as you're driving on your way to work. You just keep seeing that, and one day you're just like, you know, I'm going to go in there and talk to that recruiter today.
I want to just add one thing to that we haven't really touched on, is how the subliminal mind works and how TikTok and all these social medias are really successful and how viral videos go. When you start seeing the same message over and over and over again, you may not walk into a recruiter's office and go, I joined because of X, Y, and Z, but when you see something over and over again, your subconscious mind starts to understand that. And there might be something else, like a conversation with me or their neighbor, where they aren't thinking about the poster they just drove by or the commercial they saw or the TikTok video, but all of that played into that conversation where they were like, yeah, I'm going to sign up. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, panel. This is SA 20 Whitehead, Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chief of the National Guard Bureau. And no, I'm not crazy for standing in this sea of pink and greens to ask a question in my blues, but it's for CSM Raines and CSM Lombardo. So if we were to talk about Be All You Can Be, and not just in the, I guess, the principle of what that stands for, the campaign itself talks about how far you could go. And as I see you and you being at the top of your respective services, or say your components, what roles would you tell the sergeants major, the first sergeants, because you were heading down that way, Sergeant Major Raines, about how they can get involved in that campaign themselves, and not just the young soldiers and recruiters, but everyone in the ranks? How do they get involved, and can they physically be involved in recruiting campaigns themselves?
Yeah, I think it's just, like I was talking about earlier, I think it's incumbent on every leader in our formation, and we're a little different than the regular Army. The regular Army is not at where they're from. So our soldiers, for the most part, are going back home. So they are recruiting, and they are actively recruiting in whatever it is that they do. So if they have that leader in their formation that's talking about that, and they're talking about the importance of filling their ranks, they're talking about, hey, with this next fight, because you keep hearing it with Army senior leaders, at every turn, it's not if, it's when, and you start talking about those type things. It becomes imperative that we fill our formations. We know what the Army Guard needs to be numbers-wise, going forward. We know what the Army needs to be going forward when you look at campaign plans. Well, at the center of that is being able to fill our ranks. So that's keeping the people that we got, that we desire to keep, because everybody knows that that's part of it. Everybody was not cut out to be in our uniform, and some of them make mistakes and come in and shouldn't still stay in. So we want to keep the ones we want to keep, and then we want to replace the ones that are retiring, the ones that made a mistake and this was not for them. So how do you do that? You as senior leaders, you've got to be in sync with the campaign. If the campaign is be all you can be, that's a pretty easy one to be in sync with, because we can all have examples. I mean, you pointed to me and Sergeant Major Lombardo, as being all we can be, but I think about young, John Raines, before he was a sergeant major and being all he could be. Sometimes that wasn't a conversation. Sometimes that was walking around a PX. Sometimes it was walking around the installation. It was seeing, hey, I was an infantryman, I'm seeing the tower of power on somebody. So I see a EIB, airborne, air assault, I see a Ranger tab, I see SF on them. That's what I'm looking for, and then I go and ask them a question, and I think, hey, I want to be that. Then I go back and I talk to my team leader about, hey, how do I do that? And if they just kick me to the curb and say, hey, man, you're a commo guy, let's go figure out how to get this FM radio working. Then they wouldn't have been in tune. But that's not what my leaders did as I was coming up. They engaged with me, and they tried to make what be all I can be, what that meant to me, come true, even though that's not what it meant to them. And I think that's what the advantage that we have over the active component is we do that. We put those people back into where they are, and they're not just talking amongst soldiers. They're talking amongst citizens, and then they're engaging with those citizens, and they're trying because hey, at the heart of every young man and one woman, I think maybe everybody's not that way. They all want to be a soldier. They all want to go out and they all want to do things. No offense to the air, but they all want to go out and they want to shoot guns. They want to blow stuff up. So and they're also looking for what it is they want to be in life. So as many soldiers as we can plant in the community, and they're talking about what they're doing with their life, and they're talking about the positive sides of it. I think that puts us in a good place to inspire others to come in. And then we got this campaign that's pretty recognizable. It's pretty easy. Be all you can be. It can mean different things to different people. I think it puts us in a pretty good space.
See, from my perspective, I just think the leadership role is somewhat different, right? I don't necessarily need them to talk to the public. What I need them to do for my component is to provide that opportunity to my junior enlisted soldiers to maximize their challenges in the limited time that we have available. I need my leaders exercising prudent risk to keep the main thing, because our soldiers, our airmen, they joined our services to do their jobs and to get something out of it. What I want them to do really at the end of the day, I want my leaders to give the soldiers, like if you looked into soldiers' cell phone, you don't have them, there's not photos of them filling out paperwork, sitting in a PowerPoint briefing, but you will have them doing all that cool stuff. So what I need my leaders to do is provide them the opportunity to do the cool things why they raise their right hand. So on Monday morning when they walk into the office, they got some amazing photos on their phone that they're proud to talk about. That's what I need my leaders to do.
So Sergeant Major Grimes, Florida Army National Guard soldier on Title 10 at HQDA G357. So being all I can be at the Pentagon. So I appreciate that opportunity. I appreciate the opportunity, so I feel like I'm living that out. But I wanted to share, so I did not join back in 1986 because I wanted to be all I could be. I joined selfishly for me. I joined because I wanted a college education. However, when I got in and I got around the leaders, I started to see there were opportunities that I could be all I can be. And then I like what CSM Lombardo said, how it translates into the community. So I was a business owner. I owned a material supply company, a steel and lumber supply company, and a construction company at the same time, and I was in the Guard. Both of those skills translated back and forth. So I've stayed because of those opportunities that have been provided to me. Here's my question. I'm concerned now, as we come post-war, budgets are becoming constrained. I see a challenge for the Compo 2 and the Compo 3 when it comes to modernization and keeping pace with our Compo 1 counterparts, and how we're going to be able to do the things that we want to be able to provide those soldiers, those opportunities, so that they can take those cool pictures and go out and do those things. Because I concur, it's not about the mandatory training that we do on the weekends. It's getting to the field and doing those things, but we're going to need the equipment to do that. Do you see any concerns with Compo 2 and 3 maintaining and keeping pace with the modernization across our forces?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Rusty, for me letting you be all you can be, and you asked that tough question. And hey, the guy that can answer it was standing right behind you in line there. But no, hey, on a serious note, hey, it's always a concern, right? We know that we need to stay, up on our equipment packages with the regular Army, and we got to stay interoperable. That's the key word, interoperable. Does that mean that every unit's going to have the latest and greatest? That's not what it means. But it does mean that when we ask a unit to go and do something, that they're interoperable with the people they found themselves on the battlefield to the left and their right, that they can operate with them. And so far, we've done a pretty good job of that. Now, going forward, we look at this level funding. I think we've heard it a couple of times. I think the Secretary brought it up in her speech. She's talking about level funding. It's gonna produce some challenges for the whole Army, not just the Guard, not just the reserves, but the whole Army. And we've got to figure those things out as we go forward. But we are going to stay where we are on a level playing field when it comes to interoperability. Maybe all of our formations, modernization is not something that's going away. We've modernized forever. It's not something that's new. When do we get finished modernization? I like to ask people that question. Never. We're never going to be finished modernizing. But what we got to make sure of is that the regular Army forces don't run off and leave us, and they're so far ahead of us that we're not interoperable. And that's why we got a couple of gentlemen in the room who I think one's going to get ready to ask us a question that gets paid the big bucks to make sure that he's representing us, I'm representing us, and I'm making sure that, hey, we've got the equipment that we need to be successful on the battlefield or in the homeland when we're asked to do our mission.
Hey, good afternoon, panel. Lieutenant General John Jensen. I'm the Director of the Army Guard. I'll celebrate my 40th year and 11th month anniversary of joining the United States Army later this month. So in a way, I almost predate Be All You Can Be. And I know we're using Be All You Can Be in kind of a simplistic theme, but it wasn't that simplistic. If you go back and you look, this all ties into the Reagan buildup after his election in 1980. We have just left a very unpopular war. We have now had a very unpopular ending to a war. We had just come out of an era of tremendous civil strife in the late 60s and 70s. We are coming out of, or maybe many people would say we're still in, a time of serious civil strife as it relates to equal rights, gender affiliation, things like that. And so it wasn't as simple as just coming up with a new motto for the Army of be all you can be, and it saved all of our problems, and it solved all of our problems. We increased pay. We got better living conditions for soldiers. We provided more education benefits. It was a program of programs that over the course of time built the Army that we all ultimately joined. So a speed round, here it is. You get to change one thing in the Army: policy, practice, procedure, culture, approach. You get to change one thing, speed round. CSM Lombardo, I'll start with you and go all the way down to CSM Raines. One thing in the Army that you would change to help us better connect with young men and young women of America and build the future Army. Thank you.
I wouldn't just pick one thing, sir. But
you only get one thing. I said one thing. See, that's cheating. I said one thing.
If I got one thing, sir, I would start internally. I would start with the way we approach the components in training. I would integrate that more and make it larger scale. I think that would break down some walls, break down some barriers. I think that would it would allow the three components to feel part of one team, and I think that would go a long way internally.
Okay. Not on record, but grooming standards. Because of the fact that half of the younger generation that I speak with don't want to join because they're into their hair, they're into their beards, they're into things that, you know, may not be popular with the older generation, but it's something that they really care about. They really care about it, and they're willing to not serve just to keep it.
I would say the biggest thing would be more realistic training, more ammo. That goes a long ways with younger guys and gals who want to do military stuff. When they hear I came back from, you know, shooting 2,000 rounds over a weekend, they want to join. When they hear I came back from a weekend of paperwork, they don't.
Sir, that starts with a budget. We need a budget.
Sir, I think I would combine the Army National Guard and the Army Reserves and call it the Guard.
No, I'm going to counter that. Good question, though. So I was sitting here. So it's kind of twofold, because I was in the Guard and now I'm in the Reserve, and I can tell you I have an amazing work-life balance. Now, I do think that's because of my command and my leadership, but I would love to see that across the National Guard and Reserve. And what I mean by that, leaders out there, is that when there is a soldier that has a successful career, that there is more support and flexibility within those drill schedules to allow us to still have our job and not fly across the United States when we can do our job at home. So more flexibility within that.
Yeah, no, you know, the bad part of me won't say PT test or uniform, but no, I don't want to say that. I want to get to the training piece as well, and I want to say that hey, there's something that you know, some reason our leaders don't feel empowered or involved in development of training at the lower levels. And when I say lower levels, platoon level and below, and they're the ones that had the most impact and effect on our soldiers. And they feel like when I go and talk to them that they're being top driven on hey, what they do. There's no white space for them to fill in. So I think I would figure out a way to give them that time in order to do that.
Okay. Hey, thanks to all the panel members, first of all, for being here today, but second of all, for those answers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, General.
Sergeant Majors, First Sergeant Deerdorf, 449 Engineer Company. We talk about training and how we want to get out in the field and we want to do things, and we need to stop focusing on the paperwork. We need to get the wow moments for the soldiers so that they can go out and be our diplomats to young people. How do you think that companies can do this and maybe get more focus on that when 90% of our conversation with hire is based on what are our metrics? How many people have gone to medical? How many people have gone to dental, which is its own nightmare? But it's not a conversation on what are you doing for training? What are you doing to train your troops? Instead, it's where's your medical, where's your dental, where's your NCOERs? How do we break out of that? Because I always hear it at the top, but I never see it at the bottom.
So I would just start by saying I think we're talking maybe retention versus recruiting. But if I did do that, I would say that, at least for the Army Reserve, we're communicating to us subordinate leaders at every brigade, battalion, pre-command course that we do that we're moving away from metrics because nothing changes in a week in the Army Reserve. In fact, nothing changes in 2 weeks in the Army Reserve. So what we want to use is we want to utilize that time that's given to us to focus on training and utilize other avenues or full-time staff to generate the administrative readiness we need to support it. I do think that deals with, the retention aspect, though. Recruiting, how do we actually communicate with the American public? And I think we're starting to do it. I see a shift away from actually trying to hook the individual, just to tell them who we are, and actually to communicate to the families who have a misperception of who we are, and look at the upcoming or the new Be All You Can Be campaigns. It's based upon real life scenarios and just setting the record straight. And I think I don't know what the results of that are going to be, but it's definitely a different direction from the Be All You Can Be that I had, which was focused on the individual and trying to hook them in.
Actually, if I could address Sergeant Major's comment, when Sergeant Major Cook was in my unit a long time ago, and I was a young captain in the reserves, forgive me, Sergeant Major, I took a National Guard unit, and we had mental tasks to complete, and my soldiers, we had to complete them. We had metrics that we had to accomplish, but I actually contacted a National Guard Chinook unit. I contacted an Apache unit, and we had them conduct a heavy lift of us down, of my company, my drill sergeant company, down to Fort Lewis, and we did an assault on Regensburg down there, and they actually completed all their mission tasks. We did rehearsals for that. It was a complete air assault operation, and we got recognized by not only our reserve component, we completed all our tasks. We didn't have cell phones at the time, but, give us a break. But they would have had their phones would have been filled with pictures. The troops were excited about it. We didn't have any retention issues. We had Apaches that were flying support for us. The troops were excited. The Guard unit was excited. The Reserve unit was excited. That was the kind of training that the troops were talking about for literally years. Whatever happened to that unit, whatever happened, why don't we do things like that anymore? But it was Guard and Reserve coming together. Troops were completing tasks. They were excited about it, and everything was getting done. We were literally completing checklist after checklist, and came back. We were cleaning weapons. We were doing all this great stuff. But I really think that's what we need to get back to.
Yeah, I'll add, though, because I don't want to paint a false narrative. If all you're out doing is training and you're not taking care of any of those admin functions, nobody's getting paid. Nobody's getting promoted. Nobody's going to school. You have to do those things. So how do we? I think the question is, how do we do those more effectively and efficiently? And I think that's where we look to the future at. I know that IPSA gets a bad hit a lot of times. The active component just came in. So hopefully we can get, IPSA improved with the next release, and it can help us on some of those admin functions. I think we can look at AI, and we can look at that from the admin perspective, because AI is not going to quit working, right? So our 42 alphas that are out there, if it's a 4-day weekend, they're getting a 4-day weekend, which includes the weekend. They only work so many hours in a day. So if we get AI involved in that admin space, I think we can become more effective and efficient. I've talked to Army Futures Command about that. I'm talking to Department of Army G1 about that and seeing where we are, what plans we got. But I think that's really the answer. We've got a time problem in the reserve component. We do not have enough time available. So we got to be able to figure out how to be better stewards of our time and better managers of our time. Because we got to do all that stuff that you're talking about. And I got it. That's no fun, and it's no fun to show a picture of somebody doing that stuff on a telephone, but you got to do it. And if you don't do it, then you're going to be having other conversations with people, and people that you don't want to have conversations with, like congressmen, like inspector generals, because you're not going to be doing your core deliverables to your force, that they come in for, like paying them bonuses, paying them on time, getting them promoted when they're time to get promoted, and doing those kind of things. So we got to do all of it. We got to train, we got to meet our mission essential tasks, and we got to take care of our admin functions. That is the basic of taking care of our people.
Thank you. Our last question.
Paul Carney, the British SMA. I think you've kind of half answered my question already, Andy, so we'll see how we go. But your army, like a lot of Western armies, the military feeds the military, so parents, uncles, brothers, friends. And how do you get after the gatekeepers? So we've talked about the young men and women wanting to join the army, but sometimes the parents can be the blocker to that, hence the reason we call them gatekeepers, especially when you're trying to counter the narrative with short snippets of be all you can be against movies and veterans that continue to paint us as mad, bad, and sad. So I'd appreciate your views on that.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just going to see if the panel wants to help me out with that real quick. Go ahead.
I actually have something. So I think that we're doing a better job of connecting with the family members through digital media. It used to be maybe 5 to 7 years ago, you wouldn't have the grandmother or the father or mother who even had a Facebook page. Now they spend 75% of their time when they're not actively doing something outside of the home on there. And with these advertisements, they might gain an interest in saying, okay, well, let me find out more about it if they're approaching them to find out, hey, what are they getting into? So if they do take that extra step, they might not all, but if they do take that extra step, you have them well informed about those things. Then when they go and bring a recruiter into their home or into the office where the recruiter's at, they have the opportunity to engage with the family. And I think that is the biggest step right now is digital media is growing. It, just like he said with AI, it's not going to stop. It's only going to get bigger. There's only going to be new platforms. And with us, with AEMO, I was just up there right before I came down here, and I was speaking with them about their process and how they get to the family members and what they're doing to increase our reach. And from what I saw, it's very impressive. And being that I've been in the digital space now for about 7 years, I can tell you that that is what's connecting with the family members now. And the ads, as I said earlier, there's a lot of family members in there, right? They're doing what they can to show them that we care and that there is a connection between the military and families. I can say that as opposed to 10 years ago, when you could maybe go up to a spouse and ask them what unit their husband was in or their wife was in, they might not have known. But now, with the way digital media is, they see it in their face more, they're learning, and they will be able to tell you those things. Family members are closer to the service now, and it's a great thing.
So I appreciate the question, and I'm not a marketing expert, but my general sense is that your marketing message has to appeal to the pride of being a parent in your son or daughter. The marketing message needs to be that this organization can propel you to be better than your parents were, whether that's economically, whether that's being part of this great nation. And the message, I think, needs to talk about you could serve in the military and living the American dream. And if the messages are tailored towards that, I think you could impact the parents and change the narrative of what you're like, exactly what you said, that we're either broken or that we're going to get hurt, or to that effect.
You know, I think the gatekeeper is a real thing, right? So I talk to soldiers all the time, and successful soldiers, and we have this same conversation with them. We ask them, hey, what did your parents, what was the biggest hurdle to get over coming into the military? And they'll tell you that, hey, my parents thought that, hey, I was going to die. Mm-hmm. You know, they thought I was going to deploy, they thought I was going to die, you know, and convincing them of that. You know, I have young soldiers come up to me that are thinking about getting married, and they're thinking about getting out, or they're young in their marriage and thinking about getting out. So how I employ my most effective weapon in that attack. My spouse, Karen Raines, you know, of 34 years, who I was married to before I come in the Army, you know, who has been through multiple deployments, and I sit her down with another young soldier's spouse, and I tell that soldier, hey, let me get your wife's name, let me get your number. If Karen's there, I introduce them, you know, and I let them talk to each other so she can ease that. And I think we have parents in service. You know, we're all parents. My kids are 30-something years old, so I can, you know, I didn't have that fear myself about what my service was going to do and what it was going to take me, but I did with my kids. you know? So it's a different feeling when you start talking about your children than when you're talking about yourself. My wife tells everybody that, you know? She didn't really think about anything I was doing, you know? So she didn't think about, hey, I'm deploying. She didn't think about any danger or anything. But the second my son went into the military, you know, she was worried all the time, you know? She was watching, you know, the social media platforms, and they did do a lot to help ease her mind. She even got me watching them. You know, I'm watching them, you know, and I'm like, what's he doing? What's he doing today? You know? So I think us just talking to those people that have those concerns and telling them how we got past that with our children, you know, because as we go on in the military, more and more percentage of soldiers are married and have families, you know. So they can talk to people that are concerned about coming in. They can talk to parents. So when our recruiters are married, they have families. So hopefully they can go in and ease those family members' minds. And if they can't, they have a Rolodex of people they can take over there and say, hey, yeah, I'm going to send these people over there to talk to your parents, you know, and I'm going to help ease that transition to them and get them to the next step in the deal. And I think if you've got that powerful, you know, Rolodex of people you know are going to be positive influencers, then you can get past that. And you've got to use all your tools. I think that's the key. Use all your tools that you have. And in the American military, we got a lot of tools. A lot of tools. We just got to use all our tools. A lot of times we get stuck. We got all these tools out there. We don't even use them. We just got to be aware of them, and we got to use our tools to get past that.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your feedback and your input into today's discussion. This subject is one that impacts all of our formations and our services, and most importantly, the future of the Army. Thank you for joining us. This concludes today's panel discussion, and remember to be all you can be.